Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next hour. India and EU hold 13th round of free trade agreement talks in New Delhi today. Talks likely to focus on non-tariff barriers and market access. US President Donald Trump says Gaza deal soon after giving last warning to Hamas. French PM François Bayrou faces stern test ahead of crucial confidence vote in French Parliament today. And Carlos Alcaraz adds another feather to his hat, wins his second US Open title, defeating arch-rival Jannik Sinner. India is seeking alternative markets in response to the imposition of tariffs on Indian products in the US following a free trade agreement with the UK. A similar agreement with the European Union is anticipated in the coming months. An EU trade delegation is visiting India for the 13th round of talks. Here's a report.
India and EU are holding the 13th round of FTA talks in New Delhi. Last week on Wednesday, German Foreign Minister Johann Wedful met India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal in New Delhi, where he reaffirmed Germany's support to conclude India-EU FTA at the earliest.
Germany strongly supports the EU-India Free Trade Agreement, and we hope that this can be speedily negotiated so that it can be concluded before the end of this year, in autumn this year, and hopefully lead to a ratification process.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar appreciated Germany's push for expediting the free trade agreement negotiations with the European Union.
It will certainly be insightful for us to hear from you Germany's perspectives on key global and regional issues. We count on your support to deepen our relationship with the European Union and expedite the FTA negotiations. India and Germany have a strong history of multilateral cooperation, which I'm confident will be further advanced through our talks today.
The EU was the largest trading partner of India for goods, with the trade being $137.41 billion in 2023-24. India is EU's ninth largest trading partner, accounting for 2.4% of the total EU's trade. Trade between India and the European Union has grown by around 90% in the past decade. Some 6,000 European companies are present in India. The European Union is one of the world's largest trading blocs, and the FTA is a significant step to strengthen economic ties on both sides. The agreement will reduce trade barriers, enhance market access, and create new opportunities for businesses. Dheeraj Das's report for DD India.
All right, and my colleague Jessica Taneja joins us live from newsroom for more updates. Hi, Jessica. A very good afternoon. 13th round of India-EU talks today. EU's top negotiators are here in India. What can we expect, and what remains the focus, Jessica?
Well, this will be the fourth round of talks in the last 1 year, and shows the kind of sense of urgency that has been attached to this India-EU FTA that has been in the works for decades now, and finally it's looking at a direction where things could be finalized. Of course, there are a lot of hurdles and a lot of discussions and deliberations still to be done on this, but it's important that to understand that this deal is being finalized on various other aspects, and most of which have been discussed yet. For example, there are more than 27 chapters that have to be fleshed out between the two in terms of what are the requirements of the both sides. Out of that, 11 chapters have been finalized. So in the next 1 year, when we're also waiting for the India-EU summit, which takes place, so a lot that could be understood at that time as well. Not to forget that the European Union is going to come out with its India vision document, a strategy that has envisioned for India, both in terms of economic and defense ties. So this 13th round of talks certainly will be important because it's seeing the likes of the trade representatives and the agriculture representatives here in New Delhi to speak with their Indian counterparts and look at the important aspects of the India-EU trade deal, which currently seem to be on the discussion points of origin of goods, as well as other trade and non-trade barriers that still continue to be in the discussion. Let's not forget that there is also the carbon border adjustment mechanism. It has been a contentious and a sticky point between the two. So one will have to wait and see as to what really comes out of this 13th round of talks and what all is achieved, which chapters are filled up.
Okay, Jessica, you just mentioned agriculture. Agriculture is a special focus for India, we all know, and Agriculture Commissioner Hansen is also here. What's in store for India as far as this sector is concerned?
Well, there's a lot that needs to be discussed in the agriculture sector, given India's sensitivities to it and the kind of employment generation and the market that it captures back home. So what we're given to understand so far is that when it comes to sugar as well as rice and dairy, these are very sensitive, and perhaps the Indian side has been able to ensure and to be able to tell their counterparts in the European Union that these particular sectors will have to be taken into consideration, and to an extent they have been agreed upon. But when it comes to the phytosanitary and other measures that the European Union wants to address, well, they are currently being looked into, at least in terms of the agriculture sector, which continues to remain sensitive, but discussions are ongoing on how to have a mutually beneficial deal.
Okay, Jessica, very quickly now, with EU being one of the largest trading partners of India, how will both India and EU likely to benefit with this deal?
Well, that's correct, and the fact that this negotiation comes at a time where there has been a lot of importance and emphasis made on the fact that India and the European Union need to conclude a free trade agreement before this year ends. You'd recall earlier in the year you had European Commissioner President Ursula von der Leyen with her 27 college commissioners visit Delhi, the largest delegation perhaps anywhere in the world that the EU would have sent. So given the kind of importance India holds in the current geo-economic sphere, and with the European Union already striking a deal with the United States, with India, it will be very important to see on what kind of negotiations lead to the outcomes that tend to keep the sensitivities of the Indian side in mind. For example, if you talk about the carbon border adjustment mechanism, if you go by the industry and the experts, some say that for one MSME, it would cost around 15 lakh rupees in terms of compliance for CBAM. So that's the cost that we'll have to incur unless the government steps into support. So this is what the Indian government on its part is also trying to negotiate, that such mechanisms are not easy for countries like India, which are big exporters in certain sectors, and this kind of CBAM restrictions would limit the industry's output.
All right, this is developing, Jessica. We'll keep taking updates from you on this, but as of now, we leave it there. Thank you. Shifting focus, breaking news coming in as 4 people were killed in a shooting incident in the outskirts of Jerusalem. As per the Israel's ambulance service police, the perpetrators had been killed. Israeli police described the shooters as terrorists. The ambulance service said that 15 were injured and at least 5 were in serious condition with gunshot wounds. Israeli media reported that the attack had targeted a bus among other targets. More details are awaited at this moment. As this is a developing story, we will keep you updated as more details come. US President Donald Trump has issued a last warning to Hamas to accept a deal to release hostages from Gaza. Trump, in a social media post, warned Hamas to accept the Gaza truce and hostage deal or face consequences. The post comes after Steve Witkoff, Trump's envoy to the Middle East, sent a new proposal last week to Hamas for a hostage and ceasefire deal through an Israeli peace activist. Trump also said that US is going to have a deal on Gaza very soon as he traveled back to Washington from New York. He added that he thought all the hostages would be returned dead or alive.
No, but you'll be hearing about it pretty soon. We're trying to get it ended, get the hostages back, get it ended. We got them all back, but 20. And as you know, we have 20, plus there are a lot of, unfortunately, dead bodies involved. And they want them back. The parents want them back. So we had some very good discussions. Good things could happen.
Under the deal, Hamas would free all the remaining 48 hostages on the first day of the truce in exchange for thousands of Palestinian prisoners jailed in Israel and negotiate an end to the conflict. Trump's comments came as the Israeli military began flattening high-rise buildings in Gaza City, marking the first major phase in its new offensive to occupy the city. The operation, backed by Trump, is expected to escalate in the coming days. Hamas said it was ready to immediately sit at the negotiating table and that it received some ideas from the United States side to reach a ceasefire deal in Gaza. Hamas also reiterated its readiness for negotiations to release all hostages in exchange for a clear announcement of an end to the conflict and the complete withdrawal of Israeli forces from the enclave. Latest on Russia-Ukraine conflict. Now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said Kyiv expects a strong response from its international partners, particularly the United States, in wake of latest Russian mass strike on government building in the capital. In his evening address, Zelensky said that he was counting on a strong US response to the latest massive Russian barrage on Kyiv, its largest ever. The strike damaged the Cabinet of Ministers building in central Kyiv, marking the first time the government building has been hit since the conflict began in February 2022.
It is clear that Russia is trying to hurt Ukraine, and the attacks are becoming more brazen. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine is informing all partners about the latest Russian escalation. We are counting on a strong response from America. This is what is needed.
US envoy to Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, said Russian attack looks like an escalation in the conflict. The US envoy in a social media post said the attack was not a signal that Russia wants to diplomatically end this conflict. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump said on Monday that he's ready to move to a second stage of sanctioning Russia over the conflict in Ukraine. He also told reporters that individual European leaders would visit the United States on Monday or Tuesday to discuss how to resolve the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Trump also said he would speak to Russian President Vladimir Putin soon. The French Parliament is set for a crucial confidence today, following strong criticism of Prime Minister François Bayrou's strict budget cuts and spending plans. The result will decide whether his government survives or falls, with the outcome likely to affect jobs, public services and daily life across the country. Our correspondent Rohini Gusavi reports.
France is heading into an important political moment, and it will affect not only leaders but common people as well. French Prime Minister has put forward a new budget with 44 billion euros cuts in spending. The government saying these cuts are needed because France's debt is too high and must be reduced. But for people, these cuts could make daily life more difficult. If the budget goes ahead, hospitals and schools may get less money, which could affect services. Some transport and building projects might be delayed. Families may receive less support with housing and social benefits. And workers fear there will be less help if they lost their jobs.
I think that's quite a mixed feeling because, I mean, we had the same kind of issues last year. So we are quite used to this kind of like problems that doesn't get any solutions. But at the same time, it's kind of worrying because we don't know what's going to happen next week. And we feel like, I don't know, history is repeating. and we are not going to find solutions for this issue. So
the current budget in France is very uncertain. We don't know how it will get accepted, because the current budget shows a lot of spending coming out from the public pocket. So it will be very, very costly to live in France.
This budget has created anger in the parliament and on the streets. Opposition parties are saying this budget is unfair, and even some members of the ruling side are also not happy with this. All of this has led to confidence vote, which will take place on 8th of September. If the Prime Minister wins the vote, he stays in power and budget will move forward. People will then start feeling the effects of these cuts in their everyday lives. And if he loses the votes, his government will have to resign, and that will create political uncertainty. President Emmanuel Macron would then need to decide whether to bring a new Prime Minister, call a new elections, or try to form a new group of support in Parliament.
It will open a new era of uncertainty. So that's a mess, and sometimes it's once again time lost for true discussion and true action. So once again, it's frustrating, I guess, for French people. And yeah.
For the public, both options have problems. If the budget is approved, then daily life may become tougher because of reduced support. If the government falls, France could face weeks or months of confusion without clear leadership. Decision on September 8 will not only decide the Prime Minister's future, but also shape how people across France will live in the months ahead. Next few days are very important for France. Budget decisions could change life of many people. So everyone is watching closely and hoping the choices that makes life easier and secure. This is Rohini Goswami in Paris for DD India.
And still to come on DD India NewsHour. Japanese lawmakers launch leadership bids after Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba resigns. South Korea to fly detained workers back as US vows more raids on employers. And tropical storm Tapa brushes past Hong Kong, bringing rain, winds, businesses shut. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj. Norway is voting today on the final day of a parliamentary election dominated by concerns over rising living costs at home and turmoil in international politics. Veteran Labour Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre has slight lead in opinion polls. A left-wing bloc of Labour and 4 smaller parties is seen winning 88 seats in Parliament, 3 more than the minimum needed to secure a majority and down from a combined 100 seats in 2021. On the right, the Populist Progress Party, the centre-right Conservatives and 2 smaller groups look set to win the remaining 81 seats. The first projected results are expected after the final polling stations close at 1900 GMT. Germany had high hopes to overcome its economic weakness this year, but recent numbers put a damper on that now. Several economic research institutes have analyzed the outlook for the country. Lars Halter is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin. Lars, what can you tell us about the latest estimates?
Thanks for having me. Well, I would like to say that there's light at the end of the tunnel, but unfortunately, while that is true, the tunnel is also quite a bit longer than the maps were showing. and the light at the end is a little dimmer than we were hoping for. Now, here's the data. Even though Germany's economy shrunk a bit in the second quarter, analysts are not expecting another recession, so they're not too worried about another negative number. That's certainly a relief. However, they're expecting economic growth of only 0.1% at the EFW Institute and 0.2% over at the Leibniz Institute. So both expert groups individually reached the conclusion that any growth we'll be seeing this year will be very, very modest, especially compared to the much more optimistic estimate of growth of 0.3% just a few months ago. What happened since then? Well, the government's rescue package hasn't quite done what it was supposed to do yet, including with regards to energy prices, for example, that were lowered for some top users in the industry, but not for everyone.
All right, Lars, we leave it there. Thank you so much. Shifting focus to Asia Pacific now, former Foreign Minister Tohimistu Motegi became the first ruling party lawmaker to throw his hat into the ring to succeed ongoing Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba on Monday as financial markets whipsawed on the political uncertainty. Ishiba called time on his brief tenure on Sunday, saying he was taking responsibility for bruising elections that saw his ruling coalition lose its majority in both houses of parliament amid voter anger over rising living costs. He instructed his Liberal Democratic Party, which has governed Japan for most of its post-war history, to hold an emergency leadership election. The party plans to hold the vote on October 4. According to sources, Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimasa Hayashi also intends to run in the election. The frontrunners, however, are LDP veteran Takaichi and Shinjiro Koizumi, a political scion and son of former Prime Minister Junichiro Koizumi, who gained prominence as Ishiba's farm minister tasked with trying to rein in soaring rice prices. DD India correspondent Paulumi Barban tells us more from Tokyo. Listen in.
In a recent announcement, the Prime Minister of Japan, Shigeru Ishiba, has announced his resignation from the post of the Prime Minister, which also means that he is no longer going to be the leader of the ruling party of Japan, that is LDP. So during his resignation speech, he has mentioned that the US tariff rates has been the reason for his resignation. He has also mentioned about PM Narendra Modi and India during his resignation speech. He has mentioned that he has had successful summit with PM Narendra Modi among the leaders of several countries that he has met in the last 1 year of his tenure in office of the Prime Minister of Japan. He is going to remain in office until his successor is being elected by the upper house, that is the House of Representatives of Japan. What happens next is the ruling party of Japan, that is LDP, is going to organize a going to get into a preparation for the presidential election in the future. And once the president of the ruling party of Japan, that is LDP, is elected, there's going to be a prime ministerial election in the upper house of the parliament, that is the House of Representatives. We'll have to wait and watch that who's going to become the next prime minister. Definitely the people of the country is looking forward for an advocate who can frame better fiscal policies and monetary policies.
Meanwhile, Japanese currency yen fell as investors girded for uncertainty in the country following the resignation of Prime Minister Ishiba. Yields on super long Japanese government bonds have already been hovering near record highs, while Japan's Nikkei share gauge has recently slipped from last month's all-time peak. Experts say the markets are going to be framing this around what it means for fiscal policy, inflation and the BOJ's response. The yen fell across the board and was last 0.6% lower, while the Nikkei surged 1.8%, just shy of its recent record high. South Korea has secured the release of approximately 300 nationals who were detained during a massive US immigration raid at a Hyundai motor battery plant in Elabel, Georgia last week. The operation, the largest single-site enforcement by the Department of Homeland Security, had arrested about 475 workers, mostly South Koreans, for alleged unlawful employment. A chartered plane is set to repatriate them by Wednesday. The $4.3 billion Hyundai LG project remains a key economic venture, while LG Energy Solution, with 47 detained employees and has suspended business trips to the US, South Korea, have pledged $350 billion in US investments aimed to reform visa systems to prevent future incidents amid strained relations as US President Donald Trump vows more workplace raids. President Trump warned the foreign companies to obey US law after the South Korean workers were arrested at the Hyundai LG battery plant. Trump said he would look at what happened following the raid and also that it had not harmed his relationship with South Korea. Trump has called on all foreign companies investing in the United States to respect United Nations immigration laws.
So I'm going to look at that. It's a very interesting situation that took place in Georgia. And we heard about it yesterday. At the same time, ICE was doing right because they were here illegally. But we do have to work something out where we bring in experts so that our people can be trained so that they can do it themselves.
The South Korean and Japanese defense ministers will hold talks in Seoul on Monday. This is the first official visit by a Japanese defense minister to South Korea in a decade. Japanese Defense Minister Gen Nakatani will meet South Korean counterpart Ahn Gyubak on Monday afternoon. During his two-day visit, Nakatani will also visit the Seoul National Cemetery and the Korean Navy's Second Fleet. Last month, South Korean President Lee Jae-myung met with Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba in Tokyo, where they agreed on forming closer security and economic ties. Hong Kong was hit by severe tropical storm Tapa, prompting the closure of schools and many businesses. In response to severe storm Tapa, Hong Kong shut down schools and many businesses on Monday. The storm came within 170 kilometers of the city, bringing with it gale force winds and heavy rain that affected much of the financial hub. As a precaution, several flights were cancelled. Most public transport services were also suspended. However, Hong Kong's mass transit railway system continued to operate at reduced frequency. The Hong Kong Observatory announced that the Typhoon 8 signal, the third highest warning, would remain effective until at least 11 a.m. local time. Businesses are allowed to reopen once the signal is lowered, but schools will remain closed all day. Guyana's Irfan Ali of the ruling People's Progressive Party was sworn in for a second term as president on Sunday after his victory was ratified by Electoral Commission. Ali vowed on Sunday that he would build a diversified economy that would create jobs, raise incomes and secure prosperity. On September 1st election, the People's Progressive Party won 36 seats, 3 more than in the previous one. The We Invest in Nationhood Party won 16 seats. A Partnership for National Unity got 12 and the Forward Guyana Movement secured 1. Ali's government, which took office in 2020, has invested in the construction of roads, schools and hospitals and has made tuition at the state university free. Chile held its 52nd annual march commemorating the victims of the 1973 military coup, drawing over 100 participants in the capital, Santiago. Organized by human rights groups and relatives of the disappeared, protesters were seen walking through the streets to the General Cemetery, carrying photographs, placards and banners honoring the victims of the dictatorship led by General Pinochet. Cultural performances and speeches called for truth and justice. Though some clashes were reported, the focus remained on remembering the 40,000 plus victims of torture, exile and disappearance. Let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Traditional Italian boats took part in Venice's annual historical regatta on Sunday, gliding along the iconic Grand Canal. The event, held every year, celebrates the city's rich maritime heritage with colorful boats and rowers in period costumes. Hundreds of Cuban Catholics took part in a street procession along Havana Bay to commemorate the Virgin of Regla, known as Yamaya in Afro-Cuban Yoruba culture. The event combined Catholic and Afro-Cuban traditions with prayers, offerings, sea rituals and mass honoring the Virgin Mary. Over 50 dogs and their pet parents took part in the 20th annual Surf Dog Surfathon in Del Mar, California. The fun-filled event saw canines riding the waves to raise funds for the Helen Woodward Animal Center. Dogs served alongside their owners in light-hearted competition, with Faith taking the top spot. And still to come on DD NewsHour. Gunfight between Indian Army and terrorists in Kulgam district of Jammu and Kashmir still on, one terrorist eliminated. We will tell you weather updates from parts of India. Also on the other side, updates from the Toronto International Film Festival underway in Canada.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and a quick recap of headlines. India and EU hold a 13th round of free trade agreement talks in New Delhi today. Talks likely to focus on non-tariff barriers and market access. US President Donald Trump says Gaza deal soon after giving last warning to Hamas. French PM François Bayrou faces a stern test ahead of crucial confidence vote in French Parliament today. India and Israel have signed bilateral investment treaty in New Delhi on Monday. The treaty will deepen economic relations and boost mutual investments between the two countries. From Indian side, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman signed the deal, while her Israeli counterpart Bezalel Smotrich led the economic delegation to seal cooperation agreements. During his 3-day visit, Smotrich is also expected to meet with senior government officials alongside business representatives and representatives of the Jewish community in the country. President Draupadi Murmu addressed the Platinum Jubilee celebrations of Engineering Export Promotion Council in New Delhi on Monday. The president stressed that India's engineering exports have increased from $70 billion to more than $115 billion. EEPC acts as a bridge between international market and Indian producers.
इनोवेशन इकोनॉमीज विश्व के सबसे अधिक कॉम्पिटिटिव और प्रॉस्परस इकोनॉमीज है। भारत में उपलब्ध प्रतिभा और ऊर्जा यानी टैलेंट और एनर्जी को एनाबलिंग इकोसिस्टम प्रदान करके भारत को एक लीडिंग इनोवेशन इकोनॉमी बनाने का संकल्प आप सबको लेना चाहिए। विकसित भारत के निर्माण के संकल्प को पूरा करने की दिशा में और तेज गति के साथ अपना योगदान दीजिए।
Union Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal also attended the Platinum Jubilee celebrations of EEPC. Addressing the event, the minister reiterated the call for vocal for local, urging citizens, businesses and industry to promote and use domestic products.
हर व्यक्ति जो आज आयात के ऊपर निर्भर है, वो अपनी सप्लाई चेन देखेगा, क्या चीजें उसमें ऐसी हैं जो भारत में मिल सकती हैं, क्यों ना मैं स्वदेशी चीज इस्तेमाल करूं ज्यादा से ज्यादा, क्यों ना मैं कोशिश करूं कि कोई ना कोई मेरे भाई बहन जो स्वदेशी सामान बनाने में या सेवा देने में जुटे हुए उनकी आमदनी बढ़े, उनको और मौके मिले।
Highlighting the recent challenges faced due to export controls and restrictions, Minister emphasized the need for self-reliance as crucial for national progress, economic security and inclusive growth.
हाल में ही हमने देखा, कोई भी देश कभी भी किसी ना किसी चीज में एक्सपोर्ट कंट्रोल लगाए या रिस्ट्रिक्ट करे या हमारे पास कोई आवश्यक वस्तु पहुंचने ना दे, तो कितनी तकलीफ आ सकती है हमारे व्यापार को, हमारे उद्योग को। इसलिए आत्मनिर्भर भारत का जो कॉल टू एक्शन हम सब के सामने है, उसे हम सब स्वीकार करें।
India's industry experts said that the GST reforms not only build trust between the state and citizens, but will also strengthen India's position as a resilient, investment-friendly economy. CII Telangana Chair R.S. Reddy and Vice Chair M. Gautam termed the GST 2.0 framework as a landmark move that will benefit the MSME sector as well as the food and agricultural sector. FTCCI chief said these reforms are expected to bring significant cost relief to sectors. In a gunfight between Indian Army and terrorists in Kulgam district of Jammu and Kashmir, an unidentified terrorist was eliminated. 3 army soldiers, including a junior commissioned officer, were injured in the gunfight in the Guddar area of Kulgam. The gunfight broke out between terrorists and joint team of police, army and CRPF in Guddar area after receiving intelligence inputs about presence of some terrorists in the area. The operation is still underway and further details are awaited. As monsoon activity continues, many parts of India are expected to receive light to heavy rainfall over the coming days. While Gujarat and Rajasthan brace for intense downpours owing to the depression, the rest of the country isn't behind. From the hills to the coasts, here's what to expect. Light to moderate rain with isolated heavy spells likely to be seen over the hilly areas of Jammu, Himachal and Uttarakhand. On the other hand, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha and Bihar will also see wet days through mid-September. Natives can expect frequent showers in Assam, Meghalaya, Arunachal and other northeastern states, especially between 11th to 13th of September. Among the southern India, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, coastal Andhra and Rayalaseema are set to get scattered rain. Strong winds are expected along the Andhra coast. Meanwhile, the situation in Punjab is gradually easing following improved weather in the state and the hilly regions of Himachal Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir. As the weather situation improves, schools have reopened across state from today. NDRF is carrying out rescue operations in the flood-affected villages of the Fazilka district. 2 teams are from Bhatinda and 2 teams from the Ludhiana battalion are carrying out relief operations in almost 15 to 20 villages. Meanwhile, State Cabinet meeting is underway to review the flood situation, relief measures and rescue operations. 48 people have lost their lives so far, more than 20 lakh people affected by the floods. All right, and DD India correspondent Gurmeet Singh is joining us live from Jalandhar in Punjab. Gurmeet, what's your assessment of where you are right now? What is the situation like there?
Siddharth, first of all, as our viewers know, that Punjab is grappling with one of its most severe crises in decades,
Right.
and torrential monsoon rains
Right.
combined with controlled water releases from dams have caused the inundation in 23 districts of Punjab and several villages. Right now, the number of the villages which are submerged into the waters is 2,050. So the latest that we are getting in is from Patiala, Samana area, where 5 to 10 villages are submerged into the flood waters. There was an embankment which got breached, and due to that only 5 to 10 villages are submerged. The villages are like Thamedi, Sassi Gujra, Bhagwanpur, Sassi Brahmana, Sassi The and Haripur. These villages are submerged, and the local people over there are claiming that about prima facie about 1,300 acres of the land has got submerged and the crops are totally devastated. So this is about Samana area of Patiala. There are 2 other areas in Patiala like Patna and Ghanor area where a large number of villages are already submerged into waters and people have relocated to the safer areas, and a few people are still being rescued from the ground. Now, the latest that we are getting in is from different parts of the Punjab. Medical teams can be seen, army teams can be seen on ground. Medical teams are there to prevent any kind of outbreak of the diseases. So the people are being educated about the diseases as a after effect of the floods, and also the army teams are there, NDRF, SDRF, district administration, and the locals and NGO, and a large number of volunteers are there who are carrying out rescue operations and relief operations over there. The second input that we are getting is from Patiala, from Ludhiana, where two places are there where the embankment on the Satluj river got weakened, and these are the Sasrali and Boothgarh embankments which have got weakened, and people, the localites over there, are trying to strengthen and fortify these embankments over there. So, and the third input that we are getting in is from Firozpur and Fazilka. However, as we have told our viewers that there is a respite from rain since last 2 days, but Firozpur and Fazilka are getting incessant rains since last 48 hours, and due to these rains only, the large amount of water is there in the river side over there. And secondly, there are three reasons due to that large number of villages are inundated over there. The first reason is that Harike Headworks is continuously releasing water, and that water is coming to Firozpur and Fazilka. Secondly, there is Habib Ke embankment which got breached, and third reason is that it is along the international border and in Pakistan, Punjab. There are floods at the moment, and that flood water is coming towards Firozpur and Fazilka, and that is creating challenge for the people over there and the local district administration also. So the situation is precarious at several places in Punjab. However, there is fight for the people in Amritsar and Gurdaspur as the water started receding.
All right, we hope, Gurmeet, that the situation improves there as soon as possible. But as of now, we leave it there. Thank you so much. Students from the Navy School in Delhi met Defence Minister Rajnath Singh at South Block in Delhi on Monday. The occasion marks the Diamond Jubilee celebration of the prestigious institution. 16 students from the Navy School engaged in productive interaction with the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and shared their experiences of disciplined school life. Chief of Naval Staff Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi was also present at the event. During the meeting, each student was presented with a book by the Defence Minister, who emphasized the importance of focusing on character building. DD India correspondent Vishal Baristo spoke to the students about their memorable experience with the Defence Minister.
I'm here at the South Block in Delhi, and I have with me children from the Navy School. Navy School in Delhi is celebrating its Diamond Jubilee, 60 years they have completed, and they just met the Defence Minister. So let's talk to them and find out about their experience, starting off with the principal of the school. Ma'am, what's your name?
My name is Oshima Mathur, and I'm in the school for past 30 years. And today we had that opportunity of meeting the Defence Minister, Mani Rajnath Singh ji se mile hum, and he inspired my kids.
Hearing him standing on the podium, even I felt like engaging in that conversation, even though I was comparing. And he asked me to sit down with the rest of the children and speak. And that is a moment that I felt was really showed his kindness towards children and genuinity.
He was so humble, the way he spoke, the kindness he radiated, being someone so senior, the humbleness he treated us with. He talked to us like we were his friends.
I got a book about Rabindranath Tagore, and I would definitely read it. In fact, I'll cherish it.
He heard our opinions. He heard what we liked, what we enjoyed about our school, our experiences, and just being with the man was very great.
I would like to become a doctor and to become a doctor in the Navy. My father is also a doctor in the Navy.
Meeting him as well as the CNS today, that was one of the motivations to me. Like, this is the position I want to reach one day, and I can't wait.
So there you heard these school children. They are all very bright. They are all very excited. And yes, they are all so very impressed after meeting the defense minister, and joining the forces is also their ambition. With cameraman SP Dubey in Delhi, this is Vishal Baristu for DD India.
Film enthusiasts and fashion aficionados have gathered in Toronto from all corners of the world to catch up with some of their favorite stars and movies during the 11-day 50th edition of Toronto International Film Festival. DD India's Munmun Bhattacharya chatted with them. Take a listen.
We are currently outside TIFF Lightbox. It is one of the main theatres screening movies during the 50th Toronto International Film Festival. Film enthusiasts have gathered here from around the world, literally 3 different continents represented here. Let's ask them their name and their country.
Mitono Masaninga, South Africa.
Hello, I'm Diego from Mexico.
I'm Lena from Portugal.
Great. So what are the movies that you plan to see here? Who are the actors that you're looking forward to see?
For me, I'm excited to see Jacob Elordi for Frankenstein, especially since I read the book and it's quite an interesting book to adapt, and it might more focus on Frankenstein himself rather than just the monster.
How about you?
Me too. Also want to see Frankenstein because I'm also a big fan of Mia Goth. I saw her on Pearl, so I'm so excited to see Frankenstein. And also I just saw Angelina. I didn't got tickets, but it was so nice to see her.
Any other actor that you plan to see? Any other movie?
Couture, just like he said, because we are actually all fashion students. So just to see, is that accurate? Oh, yes, that's right.
Great to know that you're all are fashion students. So in the world of fashion, why is Toronto important?
I think creation, put yourself in and just be yourself.
What do you think?
I think there's a lot of diversity in Toronto, so it's important to add all those aspects into fashion because you see everything when you go outside, so it's amazing to be here.
Thank you so much for speaking to us on DD India. So film enthusiasts and fashion enthusiasts have joined from around the world here in Toronto for the 50th Toronto International Film Festival with cameraman YK Loknath. This is Munmun Bhattacharya from Toronto for DD India.
And in a landmark step for Indian cinema, Women in Film India, backed by Ministry of Information and Broadcasting and Government of India, has brought India's first ever women-led delegation to the Toronto International Film Festival. This historic initiative places Indian women filmmakers at the forefront of one of the world's most influential cinematic platforms. DD India's Munmun Bhattacharya spoke to Guneet Monga Kapoor and all the women emerging filmmakers team from India that she is mentoring. Take a listen.
Academy Award-winning producer Guneet Monga Kapoor and 6 emerging filmmakers from different parts of India are here in Toronto, even as the 50th International Film Festival in Toronto is on. And Guneet, she is a woman on a mission here. Let's ask her about the mission.
Thank you for having me here. Today in Toronto, I'm here with an organization called Women in Film India. It's an organization that we founded to support more women filmmakers, and very grateful to Waves Bazaar to have this opportunity that we are all here today in Toronto.
How has this visit been for you? Has it been constructive?
Absolutely. It's been great, actually. A lot of exposure, a lot of meetings with everyone around the world. So, yeah, it's been exciting. Hopefully, this will go further and more women come here next year.
This was a long haul, wasn't it? 200 plus projects and zeroed in on a few of them?
Yeah, but 50 years of NFDC, 50 years of Toronto this year, and this is the first debut, it's a debut platform for women to come here and represent their projects. So it's a great start, I would say.
One thing I can definitely say is most people know Guneet Monga for her Oscars, but what you might not know is that she has a philosophy, which I'm not sure if she's aware of, but she emulates it every day. And that is, don't just pitch your project, pitch your people.
What is your takeaway from this visit?
I think it was important because I've directed 7 films, so I would think that it gets easier. But then I think she's established, and with every other filmmaker, you realize that every project is just as good as new. The effort you have to put in is just as good as new.
So coming here and the kind of people we are meeting and the fabulous experience and the fact that the Indian government has supported us and brought us here along with WIF India. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to get that exposure. And that's good for every individual project. Whether you're in the first stage of your career or somewhere in between, it still makes a lot of a difference.
Will we be seeing more versions of this in future?
I hope we get more support, and I hope with this the message goes out that there is a lot more work that needs to be done. And this is just the start. Thank you.
It's just a start. Thank you so much, Puneet Monga, and the 6 budding and emerging women filmmakers from India here to make a mark and here to send out a message of gender parity, women empowerment, women leadership in the world of cinema. With cameraman YK Loknath, this is Mimran Bhattacharya from Toronto for DD India.
You're watching DD Indian News Hour. Time now for sport. And Spaniard Carlos Alcaraz clinched his second US Open title, beating arch rival Jannik Sinner in the final on Sunday. Carlos Alcaraz ended the reign of Jannik Sinner with a 6-2, 3-6, 6-1, 6-4 and took his revenge for the Wimbledon final loss earlier this year. In a perfect echo of the triumph that first propelled him to the #1 spot in 2022, Alcaraz's second New York title lifted him back to the top of world rankings. A dejected Sinner was left to contemplate another Grand Slam final loss to Alcaraz this season after coming up short in their French Open epic in June. India's men's hockey team have done it again. A commanding 4-1 win over South Korea in the final at Rajgir not only brought home the Asia Cup title but also sealed a direct entry into next year's FIH World Cup. This is India's 4th continental crown, making them the second most successful side in the competition's history. Here's more.
It was the perfect start for the hosts in the final. In the very first minute, Sukhjit Singh stunned the defending champions with a blistering strike to put India ahead. The moment only grew as Dilpreet Singh doubled the lead before half-time. India's dominance was evident after the break as Dilpreet added a second, his brace taking the contest away from Korea. Amit Rohidas capped off the scoring in the 50th minute, leaving the visitors with no way back. Korea pulled one back through Dayan Sun in the very next minute, but it provided only consolation. The victory was built on consistency. Harmanpreet Singh and company remained unbeaten throughout the tournament, winning all 3 group matches and finishing the Super Fours stage with 2 wins and a draw. Their 7-0 thrashing of China in the final Super Fours clash was a warning of what was to come in the title match. This triumph marks India's 4th Asia Cup crown after earlier wins in 2003, 2007 and 2017. With 4 titles, they now sit just behind 5-time winners South Korea on the all-time charts. For Indian hockey, it's not just about lifting silverware but also about momentum, carrying confidence into next year's World Cup in Belgium and the Netherlands. India's unbeaten run in Rajgir has not just delivered silverware but also reaffirmed their credentials as a team capable of competing with the best in the world. Sports Desk, DD India.
An International Literacy Day is being celebrated today, highlighting literacy's role in human development. India took a stride towards literacy in 2022 with Ullas program, which is playing a critical role in helping India achieve universal literacy by 2030 in line with global educational goals.
Literacy is the foundation of a nation's social and economic progress. A literate and educated society is better equipped to participate in democratic processes and contribute to sustainable development. The more literate a population, the stronger and more prosperous a country becomes. Yet, as of 2024, over 730 million youth and adults worldwide still lack basic reading and writing skills, a reminder of the ongoing global challenge of illiteracy. The issue of global illiteracy was formally addressed on September 8, 1965 during the World Conference of Education Ministers held in Tehran. A year later, in October 1966, UNESCO officially declared September 8 as International Literacy Day, Since 1967, the day has been observed worldwide to highlight the importance of literacy as a basic human right. The theme for International Literacy Day 2025 is promoting literacy in the digital age. In today's digital era, literacy includes the ability to access, understand, evaluate, and create digital content safely and responsibly. Digital learning tools can play a vital role in reaching individuals who lack basic literacy skills, offering new pathways for inclusive education and empowerment. India is taking major strides towards achieving universal literacy. In 2022, the government launched the Ullas New India Literacy Program aligned with the country's national education policy. This initiative focuses on all aspects of adult education, targeting individuals aged 15 and above who missed out on formal schooling. This centrally sponsored program, being implemented from 2022 to 2027, aims to equip 50 million people with basic literacy as well as financial and digital literacy, reaching approximately 10 million individuals each year. The Ullas program has sparked a nationwide movement for literacy and is playing a critical role in helping India achieve universal literacy by 2030 in line with global educational goals. With inputs from Nishant Saurabh, Bureau Report, DD India.
That's all for this edition of DD India NewsHour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India NewsHour.